Tonight, Texans are mourning the loss of President H.W. Bush. Flowers and candles are being laid at his presidential library and museum in College Station, Texas. Let's go to NBC's Garrett Hake, who is there for us live in Houston, Texas. And Garrett, what kind of tributes are happening there in his hometown?
Hey, Richard. Yeah, the city of Houston has been George Bush's hometown twice. First when he represented it in Congress, and then returning back to the city after he left the White House. He's really come to identify with the city and the city with the Bush family. I'm joined now by Houston's mayor, Sylvester Turner, who can answer that question pretty well. Talk to me a little bit about what the city plans to do to honor the memory of the former president.
Well, there will be a public celebration this coming Monday right at City Hall, in front of City Hall, starting at 7 p.m. We invited all Houstonians and people in the region to come out and let's celebrate this person who authored the 1,000 Points of Light.
When I think about George Bush, I think about that axiom of somebody who wasn't born in Texas but got here as soon as he could, right? I mean, this is someone who really identified with the sports and the food and the culture. Talk to me a little bit about that relationship between the president and this city.
Well, let me just say, he and his family, they championed the city of Houston. The president, yes, head of the CIA, yes, but he was also the congressperson from this area. After he was president, they came right back to the city of Houston. They were the statespersons. They were our neighbors. You would see them in a restaurant, both George and Barbara, not in a private room, but out in the open. They took pictures with people. They were respectful and appreciative to the waiters. During baseball season, Astros, you would see George and Barbara Bush right behind home plate. I've sat with them several times. During the Texans, you will see them in Bob McNair, the owner's suite, rooting on. One special moment for me is when we hosted the Super Bowl. You know, both of them had been in the hospital for quite some time, but they were determined to be a part of the Super Bowl celebration in the city of Houston. And when the time of the Super Bowl, they were both at the 50-yard line. She was standing right by his side, and he was waving, which for all of us, it symbolized the resilience of the city of Houston. Houston's strong.
Houston's lost a lot in the last year. Barbara Bush passing this spring. You mentioned the Texans, Bob McNair passing this week, the president passing last night. How does Houston move forward? I mean, we're only a year past the hurricane, which was such a huge deal here, too.
Well, we move forward because they laid such a strong foundation. These are iconic individuals, iconic personalities. They are a reflection of the city of Houston and who we are. But we are who we are because our foundation is strong. And George and Barbara Bush, for example, the McNairs, have laid a foundation upon which we can build. Behind, you see all the buildings representing downtown. You can't build those type of buildings unless the foundation is secure. And because of people like George Bush, Barbara Bush, Bob McNair, the city will grow bigger. We are Houston strong. We're very resilient because they reflected our greatest values. And look, he was the president of the United States, but he didn't look people differently because of they were black, white, or brown, rich or poor. Houstonians embrace him. He was a Republican, but he never separated people because they were Democrats or Republican. And so in this city, everyone, and I'm a Democrat, and a strong Democrat, but everyone is mourning for his loss, and we are praying and uplifting his family. This family, George and Barbara Bush, have been so good to the city of Houston, to the state of Texas, to the United States as a whole.
Fabulous. Mayor Turner, we're going to have to leave it there. But Richard, I think that really tells you the story here of a person who adopted this city as its hometown, and the city just taking that family right back.
Yeah, an American first, certainly, as the mayor there has described H.W. Bush. Garrett, thank you so much. Great interview there in Houston, Texas, there with the mayor, remembering the loss of George H.W. Bush.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.